Every community in the Beehive State has a backstory of what brought them here.
In today's Belonging in Utah, Jamie McGriff puts the spotlight on what attracted members of the Japanese community to the Beehive State. She joins us now with their story.
Well, you know, anytime you hear of people moving, it's often driven by the desire of wanting a better life. The Beehive State provided that opportunity for those willing to take the risk and step into unfamiliar territory. On July 1st, 1862, President Abraham Lincoln signed the Pacific Railroad Act into law. That law authorized the construction of the Transcontinental Railroad. It connected the eastern United States to the Pacific coast. The rail line went from Sacramento, California through Ogden and brought jobs with it and members of the Asian community.
And so there was an explosion of them. And so along with, the railroad workers, then you would get, like I said, all those businesses that helped support that community and still continue to give them a sense of home.
Sarah Langston is the curator and co-head of special collections at Weber State University. Langston is building a history archive about the Japanese community in Ogden.
So with the Transcontinental Railroad, it was a lot of Chinese who came. But then with the Chinese Exclusion Act, where they weren't allowed to come into the United States anymore, the railroaders needed some sort of workforce.
And this is where we bring in Dr. Kent Ono.
My Japanese side, my Japanese grandparents came to the U.S. in the early 20th century, and they were brought here really to do labor.
Dr. Ono is a distinguished professor at U of U's Department of Communications.
I do a lot of things in communications, so I trained in rhetoric, but I study media and film, and I study ethnic and critical cultural studies.
He explained Chinese workers were first recruited to work on the railroad.
It was very common for laborers to have terrible conditions and low pay. They would challenge their employers' conditions and the wages that they were receiving, and what would then happen is new groups of people would be found to replace them. So after the Chinese exclusion era, which begins in the 1880s, that is when you start to see the first Japanese Americans coming to Utah. But for my family, it was Sheridan, Wyoming, which seems sort of out of the way.
On May 10, 1869, in Promontory, Utah, the final spike was driven into the ground, joining the rail lines of the country's first transcontinental railroad. The Japanese and Chinese rail workers helped to change the Mountain West and make history. Jamie McGriff, KUTV 2 News.